Shot in front of a live audience at Margarita Republic, it's Shots from the Bench. And now your hosts, Bob Wiltman and Bob Murphy.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another session of Shots from the Bench. It's only sports talk, and of course, all opinions are both fabulous and flawed. I'm Bob Wiltman. My partner is Bob Murphy, and the producer is Greg Melanzuk. He's running in the back, running down drinks for us, keeping away detractors, and making sure the camera's in order, and basically taking care of business for us. We're here at Margarita Republic in the beautiful Spanish Springs section of the Villages. Margarita Republic, where the food, fellowship, and fun are always seated first. We're here every Sunday afternoon, so come on in, down, over, around, up, however you need to get here. Come in and join us. We have some fun with the gang and post some questions from time to time on the trivia and have a great time getting some input and insights from some of our visitors here. And of course, we are the only sports talk show in the Villages. And that being said, partner, the NCAA, we're down to the last two. What's been your take? It's been 2 weeks since we had Sunday off, so give me a rundown on what you think.
A lot's happened in 2 weeks, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I think the best two teams are there. That's what I think. I think
Be tough to argue that.
You had picked Virginia.
I had Virginia.
And I thought that wasn't a bad pick. I had picked Kansas.
I thought that was a good pick too.
With Oregon as a sleeper pick on that one, but man, I'll tell you, when Syracuse went on that run, that's what kind of sabotaged what could have been. But
yeah.
The way Villanova beat Oklahoma yesterday was a complete surprise to me. I'm looking at their body of work. Playing Oklahoma in a tournament in December. Beating them by 23 points was a good barometer to look at it and go, whoa, okay, maybe there's something about them. They have a little something over Villanova, but boy, did Villanova correct that situation.
Well, it's such a game of adjustments. That's why if you dominate a team, when you have two teams that good and that talented, anything, the shooting percentages were basically through the roof, unbelievable, and you got to give it, and a lot of teams, they lose their poise a little bit. I'm not sure that's what happened to Oklahoma, but Villanova just was relentless. And,
well, that's the biggest margin of victory in NCAA history for a Final Four.
Is that right, in the history?
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me.
For the Final Four, the biggest margin of this victory.
Was that 44 points? 44
points, 95-51.
That's a drubbing. There's no question
right.
about it.
Not what we were expecting.
No.
They completely shut down Buddy Held, the heralded guard from Oklahoma, from the Bahamas there, who 25.5 points a game and held them to 9 points. Their swarming defense, they had different people coming at them from different directions and shut down the rest of the team too. It wasn't just about him.
No, it was just a total domination. But you know what? And this is just the way I've always seen college basketball. If they played next week, it could flip-flop. I mean, truthfully, you wouldn't think so.
No, adjustments.
Adjustments are made.
Sure. But hats off to Villanova. It's the first time in the finals since 31 years since they beat Georgetown.
Wow, that's amazing.
And Patrick Ewing. And
they've had a lot
95.
of good teams since then, so good for them. I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
that's
Rollie Massimino.
Rollie Massimino, I think, is going to make an appearance.
That's
at
right.
The finals.
Is he alive?
Yeah, he's still alive, and he's going to be at the finals.
Just want to make sure about that.
Yeah, Rollie's got to be in his mid to late 80s, but he's still apparently going to make it there.
Want to offend any family members?
No, that's for darn sure.
Okay. And the other game, of course, is what I expected. I expected to see North Carolina with their depth, with their so many playmakers they have, and Syracuse has been upstart. They weren't picked to even make the tournament. They were number 9 in their own conference.
That's right. People were questioning why they even made the tournament,
right.
Including me.
This is the third time they lost to Carolina this year, too.
Yeah.
Usually, sometimes you say, well, maybe they'll win one now. They can't beat them that many times in a row. But they beat them handily, 83-66, and did their front line and their playmakers and their overall depth was just too much to ask. So
Syracuse just is not as good a team as North Carolina.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they played 15 times.
Yeah.
Syracuse might beat them once if they get hot. I
Sure.
mean, but honest to gosh, I think North Carolina just is heads and shoulders above them.
So we got a Villanova, North Carolina final.
You gotta love it.
The favorite has to be North Carolina, based on everything we've seen. Number one seed, with all their depth, with all their shooting abilities and playmakers and so
They-
forth and so on. But
they-
you know what?
they are amazing.
There's an X factor with Villanova.
Who's that?
There's something about them. I don't know if it's a team of we won't call it a team of destiny. Ooh,
Oh,
that's a
no,
bad word.
control
I
their
shouldn't-
own destiny.
I couldn't use that word destiny around you. I forgot about that.
I'm not a destiny guy. That's why he's saying that.
But anyway, I tried to hold it. But Villanova, with their swarming defense and stuff, so maybe Carolina hasn't faced a team quite with that kind of defense this year.
You
I
don't
don't
know
know.
that. You're right. And North Carolina's lost a few times. I mean, they're obviously beatable, but they have so much in their arsenal. It makes it really, really difficult. But I'll tell you what, if Villanova pulls out any type of a shooting performance and a swarming defense like they had in that last game, that's going to be a real treat. I'll bet that's going to get the best ratings of any final in a long time. People are going to want to watch that game. That's going to be great.
That's right. So who are we picking? Villanova, North Carolina. Who's going to win?
I'm going to pick North Carolina, which is like a kiss of death for them because I haven't picked one right yet. But I just think that they're they just got more in the reserves. They can keep bringing bodies in and wear you down. That's where I am on that.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that one.
Wow. that is really the kiss of death for North Carolina.
Okay, I'm going to change my mind. But no, certainly Villanova could wind up doing it. I mean,
Oh, sure.
What didn't we pick in the NFL Cam Newton?
We're not on a real good roll. That's why I said.
We thought that was going to be a sure thing, right?
We
So,
haven't pulled
I didn't
it
mean to
off.
remind you of that. but
Yeah, no, I
sorry
tell you
about
what, I'm glad they aren't flashing. I'm glad this is where they show the averages because I'm having a really bad
that. But
year.
certainly that seems like to be the logical pick here.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That isn't the only college basketball going on this weekend,
No,
We've got the women's Final Four.
I'm glad
Now,
you.
I'm not a big women's college basketball fan, but when you get down to this type of level, this type of time of year, it's pretty worth talking about, especially when you have a team of historic nature like UConn.
Admittedly, I'm not. I'm like you. I don't watch a lot of women's basketball, but I've gotten into watching them, and what they've done is truly amazing. And I got a little bit hacked off. In fact, we didn't talk about this. I'll be interested in get your take on this. But one of the interviews, somebody was complaining the fact that Connecticut is so dominant, people are turning off the games, and they mentioned that to Gino Ariama, the coach, and the coach said, well, first of all, there's 3 brand new teams in the Final Four that have never been there, so don't tell me women's basketball is taking a hit because we're so dominant. And he said, isn't it like every other sport, you get better and beat us?
Well,
He said
the ratings are through the roof, and
That's what I mean, sure.
I think the reason is that you got so many people rooting against them as well
That's-
as rooting for them.
Well, no,
and
I don't even know.
that adds the ratings.
I don't know if they're rooting against them as much as they're rooting for somebody. Well, I guess you're right.
Well, yeah,
they're
just
rooting
to-
for somebody
just-
to beat them.
Yeah, it's because you want to see it
You want to
happen.
see history. I mean,
They've
that's,
won 73 games in a row.
You know what?
73.
That's
that sounds
ridic-
even unbelievable
That's
to say.
ridiculous. That's
And
ridiculous.
they're going for their 4th straight national championship, 4th straight. And I believe they've won, this will be their 12th or 13th overall. But they're going for 4 in a row, 73 games in a row. Can you believe that?
And you know what? So I admire dynasties, and I always have. But like I said, I'd like to see somebody give them a real good game to see how they respond. But so far, it
Right.
just hasn't
Well, they
happened.
play Oregon State today.
And they have a couple really talented girls. Do they have the depth? I don't think so. But hey, and, anything can happen, right? That's why they play the game.
Sure. And the other game today as well is another Syracuse team, the women's team.
And they had a couple nice upsets on their plate, so
they're playing
They've
Washington.
been playing very well. I know nothing about Washington, so I don't know where that's going to go. But
Again, I don't follow women. To be honest with you, we're both honest here.
Yeah.
We don't follow women's sports as much, although we have to hand it to them to be history makers, and their quality of their team and their program is unbelievable.
you have to really admire any team that can win 73 games against top competition.
That's right.
That to me is
And they
unbelievable.
play one of the best conferences in women's
That's what I mean. It's not
basketball.
like they're playing chopped liver.
And they got a target on their back all the time, and they're
Who
still
doesn't?
doing it.
If you can't get fired up to play Connecticut,
Yeah.
I guess there's a couple teams that figure what's the point. But the fact of the matter is, I would think the good teams get champing at the bit. And what's amazing is I've been watching these national. They are that good. I mean, there's no question. But one of these teams, let's see
Yeah.
them get behind by 10 and see how they handle it. That could happen. They lost once 73 games ago. They lost. Somebody beat them. So it can happen. But with this band of girls that they have right now, whew,
Amazing.
boy, are
Yeah.
they good. Wow.
Oh, I'll shift gears a little.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. This is probably the most excited I've been for this show. That we've done this show for many, many months now, and this is the most excited I've been.
That's great.
Because of what's going on in the world of sports. Not only do we have we just mentioned the college basketball playoffs and the finals
Yeah.
and the summer and all that, but today is opening day of baseball.
Huh.
As we speak, the Pirates and the Cardinals are going at it in Pittsburgh.
And they're cold.
Home opener.
They're really cold.
So you've been mailing it in all this time.
I have been.
Yeah.
My
It's like new
producer just said I've
this
been
is the
faking
new
it. I've been
improved,
so excited.
Bob.
I've never been more excited about Major League Baseball today. I'm a Mets fan, that's why. But the Cardinals are at the Pirates. Wainwright is pitching against L'Oreal of the Pirates, and I don't
They're all
know-
freezing to
I
death.
don't. They're all, my partner is going to get into a rant about that because he hates the fact that they have to play in 35-degree weather.
Don't understand it.
But that's just the way it is, I guess, when they start. And then the second game today is the Blue Jays at Tampa Bay.
That makes sense. That'll be
and,
nice and warm.
That'd be nice and warm. Yeah. And the Mets at Royals. I don't know what the temperature is there.
It's going to
but
be a
that's
lot nicer in Kansas City than it is in New York.
It's going to be a rematch of the World Series, which just ended in October, or was it November? I think it was early November.
It was early November.
So that's going to be fun to watch. And little side note to that game is in one of the World Series games, first pitch, Noah Syndergaard, the Mets young pitcher, tried to hit the first, or it seemed like he tried to hit the first batter and knocked him off the plate. And Royals got all upset about that, said we're going to get him back someday.
Here's the
and
chance.
then they were saying some overtures about this game that they may throw at the Mets during. So that'd be a reason for people to watch the game.
I'll
tonight.
tell you what. Since we have successfully closed the first quarter down, let's get into this. Let's get into the Mets Royals and let's get into baseball because it is baseball opening day, ladies and
believe
gentlemen. So we will be back to talk about baseball and hold your breath while we make our picks for this year when we come back with the second quarter of Shots from the Bench right after this. Yeah, there's paybacks. Remember the guy slid into everybody's got a lot of payback.
And now the second quarter of Shots from the Bench with your hosts, Bob Wiltman and Bob Murphy.
We are back with the second quarter of Shots from the Bench here at Margarita Republic in the beautiful Spanish Springs section of the Villages. Margarita Republic, where the food, fellowship, and fun are always seated first. And I'm excited as you are, partner, because baseball is my passion. I love baseball more than any of the sports. And I get very, very excited because now I know every game, there's going to be a game every day for the next 200, a lot of
Right.
days. But you know what? I love it because that's what's great about baseball to me. Your team stinks, they're playing the next day, and all it takes is one good performance to make you forget about how bad they played. So
how
I'm
many
psyched.
times? That's right. How many times when we lived up north?
Sure.
That I used to drive around in March thinking about spring training, listening to the games on the radio
Sure.
as I'm driving around doing my job, whatever. And it might be snowing out or something, but I'm saying, oh, it's just a couple of more weeks, and they'll be up here. They'll be up here playing.
That's
And
fantastic.
that's a sign of better weather, sign of better, springtime and all that. And it's so exciting time of the year especially if you have a team that you root for.
You know, one of the things that you brought up and I wanted to talk to you about, I have not a problem with it, but I'm disappointed. I don't think that the opening day, this has become like a tradition now, where the two teams that played in the World Series, they make it so that they're going to play each other the first. I'm not sure I get what the big thrill of that is. I mean, okay, but. That being said, I mean, I always thought that you should have opening day against somebody in your division.
Well, I do
and
too.
play in warmer weather for Pete's sake, but that's my side rant. But what do you think
Well, I
about
agree
that? I
with
mean,
you on the-
you're a Mets fan.
I
You're
am.
playing the Royals. Why not play in Kansas City if you're going to start? I mean,
I'd rather be playing the some of my division.
play the Dodgers or play somebody south.
Or some in the National League anyway.
Yeah, Atlanta, play somebody
I don't
with
want
a-
to see it. They're. I don't like. First of all, I don't like there's too much interleague play. I don't
agree.
like interleague.
There's
play.
a lot. There's a lot.
I think there's more than there needs to be. When they first started, it seemed like, okay, well, the Mets would play the Yankees once or twice a
It was
year.
regional.
Now it's like
it was
now
regional.
they're playing the Baltimore Orioles. They're
Yeah, that's what I
playing
mean.
the
Now
Red
they're
Sox.
branching out.
They're playing
I can see
Tampa
New
Bay.
York playing New York and Ohio teams playing Ohio teams.
It's
That
like-
makes sense to me, but I don't
Seems
like.
like a fifth of the season
Yeah, well-
is all interleague play now.
And now it's basically an unbalanced schedule because
Right.
you may have 6 teams on your schedule that either stink or are fantastic, and I mean, so your competitors in your division may or may not have them at the same time. It just, you're right. It's just not
And
real.
it's a different game in some ways, I mean, you're playing against a team that has more hitting potential
There's no question. You're right.
in the American League. Of course, you play at their ballpark. It's a disadvantage to the National League team.
Sure.
And when they come to the National League, it's a disadvantage to them.
There's no question.
So I don't know.
Well, I do agree with you on that.
I don't mind seeing a little bit of it. It's kind of interesting, but they've made it too much.
Well,
There's too much of it going
And
on.
now, and as a result, the traditions have kind of gone away. We were saying off camera, Cincinnati used to have the first game of the
First
year
game.
every year. They're not even playing today.
know,
So I feel
it's like,
bad for
what?
them because
We were surprised when we heard that.
Yeah, usually they were the ones to kick off baseball season. Now, no way. It's and I'm
Right.
sure it's determined by baseball and scheduling and everything else. But I feel bad because I hate to see. I don't mind seeing one or two
That's
games.
almost like
but,
it's
no.
like the Lions not playing on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's exactly
or
right.
Chicago Bears not
No,
playing on Thanksgiving.
That's a very good
You know.
analogy because,
You know.
that's a tradition and you get used to it. And now all of a sudden, it's gone by the
Right.
wayside and I'm not sure why. So,
Right. So it's like here we are, opening day of baseball. It's exciting. Everybody's at the same level.
nobody's one game back yet.
Right. I mean, the last few years, before last year, I was just happy if the Mets were 500 at the All-Star break. That was a major accomplishment. To be 500 and have a shot maybe at the second half, because you don't want to be like so far behind at the All-Star break going,
that's
oh
right.
well, this season's lost already. That's how many years that happens to teams.
That's right.
And, it gets a little bit depressing, but still. So we're excited about that going on today. Some of the biggest newsmakers going into this season, of course, we had some movement of players and different things going on, and just a couple of them real quick. David Price, of course, signing with the Red Sox.
Sure.
Has really shored up their team and
Sure it has.
made them in the hunt with the Blue Jays in the East. I think Blue Jays, we'll get into that in a little bit, but
Sure.
I think the Blue Jays, we both agree, would be the odd favorite to win the East
They're
in
my
the
pick.
American League.
Yeah, I think they're an awful good team.
And Zach Greinke leaving the Dodgers, going to the Arizona
Going to Arizona,
Diamondbacks,
yeah.
putting them in the mix.
And they're an intra-divisional. Isn't that something? They lose Greinke to
Yeah,
one of
sure
their
they're
biggest
thrilled about that.
competitors. Yeah, wow.
And then Justin Hayward leaving the Cardinals, to go to his rival
Go
Cubs.
to another rival. Yeah. Used to be you never did that. Now they're just all
that's
fired
like-
up.
That would be like, no, they'd never do that to your former team. So, I guess Justin Hayward wanted to go to a younger team versus a team, a bunch of younger stars rather than a bunch of aging stars. And that was his point. That's what he made.
All right.
So we'll see about that. Of course, it's also another point going on this year. It's David Ortiz's last season with the Red Sox. Is that going to be a type of thing where Derek Jeter went through last year, do you think?
Well, if it is, like I said, and you'll have to forgive me, I don't discount David Ortiz's home runs, but For the last 10 years, it seems he's done nothing but DH, which is fine. That's how you build up offensive statistics. But he looks like a very, very overweight, non-defensive baseball player. But you know what?
But you know what?
Good for him. He keeps hitting clutch homers in playoff games. So he'll
to the
make
Boston Red Sox fans here in the Villages,
Yeah.
the Red Sox nation, I would say this. I say that he is their beloved Poppy.
it. He must be.
He's their Poppy because he's just one of their most likable guys that they've had on that team in years. And I think that's part of it. It isn't so much
Oh,
as statistics.
You're right,
But,
but I mean, the discussion's
which has
going to
been
come
good, I
up.
thought.
The discussion's going to come up. Should he be in the Hall of Fame or not?
Yeah, I
And but that, like I said, that's a whole nother thing.
that's
I
another
like
day.
I like guys that play the field, but by the same token, he has hit a raft of clutch home runs in playoff games since I've been watching baseball playoffs. So that's got to account for something on top of the 500 homers. So
Sure.
yeah,
Another quick story is Cespedes with the Mets
Yeah.
playing a full season.
Yeah.
I mean, what he did for them in half a season propelled them from a team that was 500 to a team that was in the World Series. Is also a story of of note.
Well, the Mets have. It's not that they have question marks. They have a solid lineup and they have outstanding pitching. So I think that's a match that should get them, that should propel them into the divisional lead. And from where whatever happens. But I don't see a better team in that division than them. So it's for them to lose.
Yeah.
And I don't root for them to lose, but they've got some guys, and he's one of them. Cespedes. They're going to have to come through a little bit.
Well, they've had a rough spring.
Yeah. So
that
what?
doesn't always mean anything.
No, it doesn't.
And I think a lot, with them especially, I think they were just split squad and all over the place.
Well, sure. That's what happens.
So anyway, another one is another story going into the season is Ichiro Suzuki. He's 65 hits
is
away
that
from
what he is?
3,000, and he'd be the first Japanese player ever to do that.
Who's he playing for now?
Plays for the Marlins.
Oh, okay. Well, then.
Now, Greg made a point off camera that he's been kind of like hanging on the last few years, but it hasn't been that bad.
But he hasn't been DHing. I mean,
No,
he's in the national.
he's
I mean,
nationally.
he's getting 450 at bats.
In order to get close to this at this point, he had to have some. When he was very productive, he had to have many good. He had a lot of well over 300 batting average every year.
Over 200 hits
Oh,
too.
sure.
I mean, he was
Yeah.
automatic. And you know what? I don't. If Marlins Phillies productive, go for it. Because. He's the type of hitter that when it gets down to the end of the season, when people start acquiring teams, I think he's a guy that somebody will. I mean, there's a guy that can hit the ball and bat. He's going to put it in play and can run a little bit even now at the age of 40. So, hey, I hope he gets a chance to participate in the playoffs somehow.
That will bring excitement to South Florida this summer for
Absolutely,
sure.
it will. Sure, it will.
Another thing is, the Mets have Zach Wheeler coming back off of Tommy John surgery. He missed a year and a half because of that. Was a 17-game winner. Is he going to be back? No, they're not going to get him back probably till the All-Star break.
Well,
But is he going to be anywhere near the pitcher? If he is, then watch out.
well, they're supposed to. The reason they take their time is they want the guy to be back to where he was,
Right.
and they're silly if they rush him back before then.
Sure.
But no, he's a big feather in their cap. If they add him after the All-Star break, look out, because they got maybe the best pitching staff in that division, and now they're going to have maybe the best pitching staff in the National League if he comes back
That's right.
looking like he did. So.
Another story, real quick. I'm just trying to think of some stories going into the season. We mentioned who we thought might be the MVP of the league this year.
Yeah.
And of the National League anyway. And I had mentioned to you Paul Goldschmidt. He's a two-time Gold Glove
He's
winner.
a good choice. That guy's a good. And if Arizona makes it to the playoffs, especially, he's going to finally get his exposure. Nobody knows who that guy is.
He's a great offensive player and a great defensive player,
Great
all-around
player.
So if there's anyone to supplant Bryce Harper, if there's anyone, that would
Yeah.
be the guy I would pick.
Well,
in
I
the
think you're right.
National League.
And the guy I really like, and I help me on, is that Correa guy. Is the shortstop for? No, he's in the American League for Houston, I think. Is that who he?
Oh
plays?
yeah, well there's two shortstops there. in the American
You know
League
who I'm
that are-
talking about? Maybe I got the, but this guy was money in the bank. I never saw a better looking baseball player last year than this guy, and they brought him up, you
Sure.
know. And do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he
Yeah,
is
I think he's
just
from Puerto Rico.
yeah, he is just
There's two guys from Puerto Rico. They're both the same age. They both known each other. I forget the other kid's name too, but they know each other real well. And now they're both the two top shortstops in the American League.
Well, there you go. That's
So,
what I mean. So, yeah,
that's
but
something to say.
that's a choice for me because
Right.
I just think that guy has more talent defensively and offensively combined than I've seen
Sure.
from a player in a long time. But that's interesting. So,
Well, remember I mentioned the game tonight with the Royals. Keep an eye out see if the Royals are going to throw at the Mets based on what Syndergaard did in the World Series.
yeah, we
Game
talked
3 of the
about
Wor-
that. I
yeah.
don't know. It might be too soon for paybacks, but you
Well,
know,
they're not going to get to play the Mets that much this year, if at all. This might be the only time they play them.
aren't they playing them two days after two?
Well,
don't-
yeah, just the series. I
Well,
mean,
they'll-
they may not be another series.
I don't know if they want to do it on opening night, but I have a feeling somebody's going to get some chin music based on
I
what
don't know.
happened
It
last year.
It
So
doesn't seem right to do it on opening day.
no, that's what I mean. It's you know, that's a little too
Yeah.
blatant. But
Yeah.
if you wait till the third day and say, "Oh, it just got away from me" or something, then
Yeah.
you see what happens.
Let's wait till the third game.
Let's see what happens with that.
That's what I like.
But
Okay.
that's like I said, that's our rundown for baseball, and I couldn't be more excited because it's just it's that time of year to watch the good teams and the Cubs. Everybody's handing the Cubs the pennant, and maybe they're gonna run through the National League like nobody's business. But I still like the Mets. I still like the Diamondbacks. So.
Well, watch out for the Giants too.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
exactly
the Giants had would they have the best record in baseball?
Yeah.
Weren't they the best? And then they got injured late in the year.
Tell you what, we'll come back with the third quarter shots from bench. We'll wrap up baseball and talk about the NBA, but we'll be back with shots from the
We've got some
bench
golf to
right
talk
after
about,
this,
too.
and we've got golf too. Stay with us.
And now the third quarter of Shots from the Bench with your hosts, Bob Wiltman and Bob Murphy.
We are back with the third quarter of shots from the bench here at Margarita Republic in the beautiful Spanish Springs section of the Villages. Margarita Republic, where the Food Fellowship and Fun are always seated first. And before we get into the NBA partner, any final thoughts on what we were talking about with the challengers and the upcoming baseball season, teams you want to keep an eye on?
Well, let's go with the American League right now.
All right.
Okay, the East looks like to us. We've talked about this. We
You got the Sox.
reprimand me if I'm wrong. But it looks like the Blue Jays and the Red Sox are going to be fighting it out there.
I agree with you.
You know.
That's I don't see anybody that can quite stand up with them.
American League Central, of course, the Royals.
Royals in Houston.
They're still going to be good. They lost Greinke, but they're still going to be good. They picked up another player. I forget where they picked up, but they picked up a pitcher, and they kind of
Oh, they're
mended
fine.
things up a little bit. Their
Yeah.
lineup is still potent.
They got Zimmerman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
that's a pretty good
Yeah.
addition.
So I look at the American League Central between the Royals and the Tigers. I think the Tigers are going to be right there with them.
How
What
about
do you
that?
think about the?
There's just, I mean, they have a good lineup. I don't know if they're quite on the
Yeah,
same.
that's why I put them in second, but
yeah,
I
but
put them as a challenger.
That's a good team to watch.
Yeah.
I agree with you. They seem to
Sure.
load up, and they did a pretty good job again off season.
Then we got the Astros in the West.
Always good.
You know, they got Keuchel.
Keuchel, they'll
They're number one, and I think the two teams that are going to battle it out to try and challenge them would be in this order: Rangers and the Angels.
two good teams too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
Texas
how.
Rangers.
I don't know if they can stack up
Right.
quite pitching wise.
Well, that's why I put them.
Yeah, but they perennially
depending
have
on what
a
happens, they
good
could-
lineup.
could
Good
be in there,
lineups.
But those are the teams that I think that would challenge the Astros and keep it close and who
I like it.
knows
Yeah,
type of a thing.
I couldn't agree with you more on those.
So over on the National League, of course, the National League East, we've talked about this.
Mets and the Nationals.
Mets and Nationals.
I'm not seeing anybody else that's going to
giving the
disturb
Mets
them.
a little bit of a edge on that.
Yeah, no question.
Overall pitching, of course, the Nationals have the MVP and they have pitching as well.
Yes, they do.
You know,
Scherzer, they got some good
Their
pitchers.
lineup is very good and potent and consistent. You know, adding Murphy and
I don't know if they run out enough quality pitchers on a regular basis like the Mets do. I mean, they.
But certainly the Mets will not run away with if they win that division. They will
No,
not
I
run
can't
away
see
with it.
that. But you're right. The Nationals
it may
with
be- it's gonna be close.
Strasburg and Scherzer, they got some good
Yeah,
pitchers.
it's
no
going to be
question.
close.
Yeah.
I just give the Mets the edge there.
Mm-hmm.
National League Central, of course.
Cubs, Cardinals, and
everyone's pick, right?
Pirates, but the Cubs look like they're going to be a couple steps above everybody else based on who they signed.
You got the Cubs, and then the Cardinals and Pirates fighting
it out for
fighting
the
out
wild
the,
card.
for
Yeah.
the rest.
That's right. I agree with
and
that.
I think and you're right. I think that's a good pick there for the wild card. I mean,
Yeah.
matter of fact, the West, I'd pick the Angels for the wild card, and the Pirates in the National League.
Well,
That's forgot to mention
I'm
the
from
wild
Pittsburgh.
card.
I like that. I'm not sure you're right. I hope you're right.
Yeah. Well, I hope so too. I don't think they've dropped that much. They haven't, like you said,
No,
they haven't improved a lot.
they've got a couple guys that they claim to be just as good as who they lost, but
Right.
we'll see.
Yeah, that could
it's
very
one of
well
those
be.
type of things.
And out west, I got the Giants penciled in as the Dodgers have dropped a little bit with the loss of Greinke, in my opinion.
No, there's no question.
Diamondbacks have improved.
Giants
with
and
the
Giants and
addition of
Diamondbacks are
Greinke.
going to fight it out. I think you're right. The Giants have a pretty stinking good lineup and
Well, they had
pitching
a
staff.
great record last year until injuries hit their starting rotation.
That's what happened to them. That's
And
exactly
they
what
got
happened.
everybody back. So watch out for them. We were talking a lot about the Mets and the Cubs, but the Giants.
Now, are they counting on
Very good.
Lincecum? Is Lincecum still with them? I know that he was going free agent, but he had a real up and down year last
I'm
for
not
him.
sure. about
Yeah,
that.
I don't think they're counting on him, but I
No. Mm-hmm.
think he's still with the team. But he's they're not relying on him to be their
And
maybe
the
their fifth
Diamondbacks
starter.
with their great hitting team, with you're adding Greinke to that mix
Greinke
there
and
is-
they have a great lineup.
So that's a team to watch out for. So those three teams, the Giants, the Diamondbacks, and the Dodgers, are going to fight it out. What we think the Giants look like barely make it ahead of all the rest of them.
I totally agree with.
gonna be close, though.
I agree with all your picks on that. But well, that'll wrap up the baseball. But let's go into something that I
Golf.
know you're.
Please,
Well, do you
golf,
want to do
golf,
golf
golf.
first? Well, before we do the NBA,
I do.
He's juiced up for golf. We're going to talk about golf. Doggone it. Let's hear
Well,
it.
it's we're watching golf on TV right now. and
Houston,
they're
the Houston Open.
battling that out.
Guys are making
getting ready for
birdies.
the Masters this
They're
week.
firing birdies all over the place on this
You know,
golf course.
I mean, the leaderboard is changing, and we take our eyes off of it. We've got, Jordan Spieth, Justin Johnson.
Some guy named
Stenson.
Spieth. Yeah,
Yeah,
Spieth.
some guy Spieth.
Stenson.
He came into the day 6 shots back, and he's firing birdie
And he
after
hasn't
birdie
even.
up
He's
there.
not even done with the front nine. He's tied, I think, or
And that's
close
one of the
to.
things I was going to talk about. But we got, before we get into the Masters real quick here, the guys that I thought were going to do well in the Masters, we'll get into that, but the guys that needed to show up a little bit more before the Masters, Spieth,
Yeah.
look at him today.
He's fixed it up.
I
Yeah,
mean, he has-
Mickelson and Spieth and Dustin Johnson are playing
Yep.
pretty well this week.
Henrik Stenson, another guy who's played well this year, who, and look at Dustin Johnson up there. Right now you got Spieth is what?
Spieth
shot
is one back, one
Johnson,
shot back.
one back. Fowler's in the mix now.
They're all in there.
So,
They're birdieing everything.
it's an exciting time of the year
bet.
because this tournament is helping us get a feel for who's playing the best going
And we
into
love
next
and
week.
You're like me.
the
I love the
Masters.
Masters. The Masters.
I
to
love the
me,
Masters. I've
it-
loved the Masters before I even
it's-
played golf.
It's spectacular.
And so what's going on with the Masters? Okay. Jordan Spieth, I was going to talk a lot about him because he, coming into this tournament today, he tried to find something
Yeah.
because he hadn't found it since the first tournament of the year. Last year, he was, of course, number one golfer in the world. Oh, by the way, we have a new number one golfer in the world.
Yeah, Jason Day. I'd say he earned it.
That's
the
right.
last couple tourneys he's
That's
won.
right. He's not playing this week. He's taking a little time off, but he's a two-time winner on the tour this year. Number one in the world, playing the best so far this year. And you had Adam Scott won a couple of tournaments, and he was been playing pretty decently. And then you had beginning of the year, we said, oh, here we go, Jordan Spieth. But since January until today, because today he's doing well,
Yeah.
a lot of differences in Jordan's game. He must have figured something out. Because last year, he had won, going into the Masters, he had won 2 tournaments and had 7 top 10s. This year, he had won 1 tournament and only had one top 10 finish.
Well, he's such a good golfer. You know what these guys do? They work on their game, and it takes them 2 or 3 weeks sometimes to get their games back to
Right.
where they want it. But boy, once they find it, Tiger Woods used to do it too. You think, what's he doing? Why is he tinkering with this? He's winning everything.
Sure.
They just want to get better. And Spieth, like I said, he birdied 5 of the first 6 holes he played today. I'd say he's found something.
He's definitely found something because the statistics that I have of this year and last year coming into today were alarming for him. Okay, 2015 he was number 1 in scoring average, 68.9. Right, he's 70. Okay, doesn't seem like a lot, but it is when you're at the top of the leaderboard.
That's a missed putt each round. Yeah, that's right.
2015 he was number 1 in putts per round. 27.8. Wouldn't it be nice to hit that many putts in a round?
I've done that on 9
He's
holes.
3rd this year. Okay, again, not a big drop, but enough to make a little
Enough
bit of a
to get
difference.
you off of
Not when
number
you're
1.
against the best in the world.
Heck yeah.
2015 he was 2nd in birdie average, 4.5 per round, 4.5 birdies per round. He's 3rd this year. Okay.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, okay.
well,
His
he's-
biggest difference, though, the biggest difference comes in greens and regulation. Last year, he was 49th. Now, to even be 49th, you had to be doing something. That's where these other ones come into play.
Well, if you're putting and
You're
making
putting,
birdies.
you can't drop it all. You can't. You
Yeah,
got to keep it
yeah,
right where it was.
yeah.
So he's 49th. He's 153rd going into this tournament today.
Well, that'll change, but yeah, that's.
Yeah, they'll change.
Yeah.
In 2015, in sand saves, getting out of the bunkers, he was 24th. Coming into today, he was 135th. On that. What I want to know is who keeps these statistics?
No, who keeps the
Do they have a
statistic?
guy walking around?
Oh,
with
they
each
do.
guy?
There's no
For
question.
each player, okay, like a statistician just for everything he's doing.
What you
They
got to
must.
do is you got to
How
just.
else would you know?
You got to give him credit because, but those guys, and like he's like Woods, they just want to improve their game, and you think, oh, you're number 1, you're number
Yep.
2 in the world.
So it's
They-
good to see Jason Spieth get back into it
Oh,
this
yeah.
week because if he hadn't been in this contention, whether he wins or not, at least he's contention.
He's
We'd
gonna,
be wondering about him going into the Masters. Like, where is he?
Well,
But if
you're
he
right.
wins this thing,
But he's like
then we're
McElroy.
like, whoa.
He's like McElroy and Scott. They're they're going to be there somehow,
Right.
some way. You know.
So let's look at some of the possible favorites for the Masters. Of
Sure.
course, Jason Day, number 1, playing really well right now. Won a couple of tournaments. We have
the odds will have him at number 1.
Sure.
I'll bet.
I don't know the odds for the next group, but certainly I'd have Adam Scott up there.
Oh, yeah.
He's won 2 tournaments. Played well this year in most tournaments. Let's see, Zach Johnson's won a tournament. Well, no, he won a. I'm sorry, he hasn't won this year.
Yeah, he's done well, but he hasn't won.
Right, he's won a Masters. That's why I had down here. Some of the other guys that Zach Johnson won a Masters, so he could be in
Yeah,
contention.
sure, absolutely.
Jordan, of course, playing this well and winning in record fashion last year. In his first major he won last year at the Masters.
He'd be
Bubba
a good
Watson's
pick.
won 2 Masters.
He'd be a good pick. I mean, those guys, they
The
perform.
guy that hasn't won a Masters that I think who's playing well today, and I had mentioned him earlier, was Henrik Stenson. The guy just always has one of the lowest scoring averages in the tour, and he's always seemed to be. Even today, he's right in the mix, 2 shots back.
You going with Henrik for the win?
I'm not necessarily going for him for the win, but I certainly think he's definitely going to be in contention.
Well, I'm
for the
gonna.
win. Are you going to go?
We're getting
you wanna pick a winner?
we're getting ready to wrap up the third.
You're gonna pick a winner.
But I'm gonna pick Justin Rose. He better
Justin
not.
Rose.
Justin, you better be. Don't make me proud, Justin. That's my choice
Are you
for the
just
Masters.
picking that one out of the hat? Or?
No, I just think he's his game and his preparation.
He was playing well at the Bay Hill when I was there a couple of weeks
He's
ago.
a darn good golfer, and I think he's
Right.
a champion. So that's my choice.
He's a good golfer. There's no doubt about
Well, I'll
it.
tell you what, we'll come back and hear your mystery pick. I
Okay.
think we have an idea.
Give
We're
me
going to
more
be
time to
back,
think about it.
and we'll cover the NBA and finish up on golf, and have a couple other rants we want to get into. We'll be back with the fourth quarter shots from the bench right after this.
And now the fourth quarter of Shots from the Bench with your hosts, Bob Wiltman and Bob Murphy.
We are back with the fourth quarter of Shots from the Bench, and Greg Melanzuk, our producer, took us back and gave us a lecture about me being long-winded, which I found offensive, but that's okay. That's another story. That's okay. But let's wrap up. Let's wrap up with your picks on the Masters, because you
Well-
tend to be very, very, very accurate. In
Well,
some
coming
of your-
into this, of course, Jason Day becoming the #1 golfer in the world, playing with the best, you know,
Yeah, he's playing better than anybody else. There's no
what
question.
do you want to call it?
Yeah.
Just playing the best golf.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm picking him to win the Masters. My #2 pick, right on his heels, based on today's performance so far. If Jordan Spieth can find that like he's playing now, if he plays that kind of way next week, which you would think he might, I would have him right on his heels and wouldn't be a surprise to win the whole thing either. And my top 5 are Day, Spieth, Adam Scott, Henrik Stenson, and Bubba Watson.
Let me get this straight. So you're going out on a limb and saying your choice to win
it's
the
not out on a
Masters
limb. It's just
is
the
either
truth.
Day, Spieth, Watson, Scott, or McIlroy. Is that what you're saying?
No, I didn't say McIlroy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm not really up on him right now. Well, I'm going with Jason Day. He just moved into #1 in the world.
Why would you pick Jason Day? Why? Why would you pick him? Actually, it's a pretty good pick. I like
Gotta
that.
look at who the favorites are.
All right.
These are the favorites. And so, you know, and Jordan Spieth, I mean, to play, I'm really happy for him to be playing this well, because he's really, like I mentioned earlier, been down in a lot of categories, but he's found something this week, and that's great to see.
It doesn't surprise me that he's finding his game
Yeah.
right before the
Right
Masters.
before the Masters.
Just doesn't surprise me.
Surprise, surprise.
But I'll tell you what, let's segue into something that you have been on top of while we've been doing this show, and that's the NBA. We're getting down to the last 5 or 6 games, right?
4 or 5 games left,
Yeah,
depending
that's-
on what team you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's getting interesting. Of course, Friday night, the Warriors lost at home for the first time to the Celtics. I watched that game, by the way. And for the first time, and to break a NBA historic 54-game winning streak at home. They lost to the Celtics.
Wow.
Now, you know, of course, they're in the chase for the #1, the record of all-time wins in the NBA, held by the Bulls, the '95 Bulls,
Yeah.
of 72 wins.
72-9 or 72
With their
and
last
10.
5 games now, they have to go 4-1 to tie, 5-0 to win. And the way they're playing, they're looking like a little bit of a tiredness is coming to their team.
So what do you think? Should they? I would think the last thing in the world they'd be concerned about is the
Well, this is what we talked about off camera.
record, yeah.
You know, you got the Warriors #1 in the West, 4 games ahead of the Spurs. Spurs are like 12 games ahead of or more over
they're
the Thunder.
they're very comfortable where they are.
They're happy being
yeah,
at #2.
Exactly.
And they're smart. Greg Popovich is smart. He rests his players, especially his older players, so they're ready for the playoffs. I'll tell you, the Warriors are showing some signs of tiredness to me. Curry will have a game where he goes off and has 8, 9 3-pointers, and then and going crazy, and then all of a sudden he's missing shots and just looking a little bit tired. They're showing some signs.
Hey,
of fatigue.
fatigue's a big deal. I agree with you.
There's a guy in the audience who wants to know how the Knicks are doing.
Oh, the Knicks aren't doing very well.
The Knicks.
There's no hope for the Knicks.
They shut Porzingis down. I saw that. He's probably on a raft on the beach somewhere as we speak,
Yeah.
relaxing with a drink.
Well, the Knicks aren't worth talking about. Okay. Sorry about that. But I'm a Knicks fan, but they're not worth talking about. So anyway, in the Western Conference, you got the Spurs now with the second longest winning streak of all time to the Warriors, who just lost.
But
They've won 48 in a row.
But now theirs is the reigning long.
Theirs
one.
is the
Yeah,
reigning.
Yeah.
Well, they're still second all time.
Right.
But they're the best this year.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know, who knows if they'll continue. They're 39-0 at home this year, and it goes back to last year to be 48.
Wow.
So the
Wow.
Spurs, okay, the Spurs, and then you got the Thunder, the Clippers, the Grizzlies, Trailblazers, Mavs, and the 8th spot is the Jazz. The Rockets are one game back, and everybody else is not even worth mentioning.
How's Dallas doing?
Dallas are number 7, tied. The 7 and 8
Oh,
spots
okay.
are tied.
So because they were leaking oil bad.
Yeah, the Mavs and the Jazz are tied for the 7th or 8th spot, depending on
Okay.
how you look at it.
All right.
And the Rockets, who are really falling off, are one game back
Wow.
and getting into the playoffs. So
Wow.
there's still a shot. They're only one game back. So, pretty much your top 6 teams in the West are the Trailblazers, the Grizzlies, the Clippers, the Thunder, the Spurs, and the Warriors are going to be in the playoffs. These last 3 teams, the Mavs, Jazz, and Rockets, it's going down to the wire to see who wants to get into the tournament.
Sure.
So, like I mentioned, the Warriors have to go 4-1 to tie the all-time win record, or 5-0 to break it.
Well,
So,
like I said, I hope they're
doesn't
smart
matter,
enough to
you know.
decide if they're fatigued, they gotta just let everybody have a couple days.
It looks that way to me. I mean,
Yeah.
there's even when they're fatigued, they look good.
Well, they're 68 and 8.
But
Did you say? I mean, that's
sure.
that's
But
pretty
there's
ridiculous.
something different about them. There's been some games where they had to struggle to win and not looked well like their normal selves because
Right.
they were dominant. So we'll see. In the East, you've got the Cavs maintaining the 3-game lead over the Raptors.
Right.
54-22. Raptors 3 games back. The Hornets now. The Charlotte Hornets are in number 3 spot
That's amazing.
in the.
They were out of it 2 months ago. They
That's
they
right.
weren't even in the top 8.
That's right. They're a
Yeah.
team to watch out for.
Yeah.
Number 3 spot, and they're just ahead of the Hawks, who are number 4. No surprise there. They were a 60-game winner last year.
Yeah. They got
The
some talent.
Celtics have dropped a little, but they're still in number 5. The Heat, they're actually tied with the Heat, 4 and 5, whatever way you look at it.
Sure.
The Pistons are at number 7. The Pacers are at number 8. Now here's where it gets interesting. The Pacers are at number 8.
Mm-hmm.
The Bulls are 2 games back with 5 to play.
I'm going to
The
say
Wizards
that.
are 3 games back with 5 to play.
I don't like the Bulls' chances. I don't like the Wizards' chances.
Neither do I. They're just not the same team.
No, I agree with
So
you.
I think the Pacers, that's pretty much going to be your Eastern, Pacers, Pistons, Heat, Celtics, Hawks, Hornets, Raptors, and Cavs. And with the Bulls, and look at those 2 teams, the Bulls and the Wizards. Very disappointing. Starting the season, you'd say the Bulls and the Wizards would be 2 of your top teams in the
You'd
East.
think. Yeah, I would have
know.
thought definitely. And because they've
So-
got some star power, but
I mean, it's still possible mathematically, but it's going to have to be the teams ahead of them are going to have to lose out in order for them to do it.
well, that's like I said. That's and we'll have as it gets down to rug cutting time, we'll be able to give you the breakdown who's going to be
Yeah.
playing who. But tell you what, as we're getting, did you have some more stuff in the NBA?
Oh,
you
just
wanted
one thing quick. The top losers in the league this year again get the 2 top picks again this year.
That's always the way.
Sixers and the Lakers
All right.
are going for the top in the June NBA draft. So I'm not going to say hats off to them for that.
Well, we'll see who they get. But I'll tell you what, we have a couple minutes to go. I just want to bring up a couple things that I've found. One, you were talking about streaks. And we usually don't go into the National Hockey League too much, although we probably should. But one of the real great streaks in sports history is in jeopardy coming down the stretch here in the Hockey League. The Detroit Red Wings have made the NHL playoffs 24 years in a row. To put that in perspective, the number 2 team, the Penguins, have been in it 10 times in a row,
Right.
and that's number 2. It's just not that easy to do, and they've gone through 3 or 4 different roundup of coaches and players, and they've made it. But this year, if they win their last 5 games, they're in. But
Right.
they are playing a real tough schedule down the stretch. So I don't know whether I should root for them or not, because they're players and they're good players, and if they've got the makeup and the moxie to do it, they'll pull it off. But
All records are meant to be broken, I
that's
guess.
right. Well, that's
I mean,
exactly
they're
right.
gonna be broken at some
well,
point.
yeah, eventually you run out of.
mean,
all streaks do come to an end. Exactly
certain,
right.
certain streaks we talked about in shows previous, like Will Chamberlain's 100-point game.
Yeah.
It's hard to see that being broken, but
You just
anything's
never know.
possible.
Anything's possible.
You know.
But so I want to just bring that up. And
Sure.
also one of the things I wanted to bring up is while we're just going up and down the dial. Colin Kaepernick is looks like he's being wooed by
I forgot.
John Elway in Denver. A little NFL news.
We're just waiting for the trade to go down.
Well-
They're going to have two washed up. No, you can't say Colin Kaepernick.
He's
Actually,
too
he
young.
could bring something to the table for that team.
Well, I can't imagine,
mean,
but if you say so, no, I'm right with you on that. If he's got
If he
something,
plays anywhere near like he did a couple of years ago, when he can roll out and make throws, he rolls out to make throws, just like Elway used to do it, and different players. But that I think that he could be a good pick for them, and they got Sanchez as a backup.
well, I'll tell
They
you
got
what.
two quality quarterbacks not quality, two experienced. That's a better word.
Well,
To
like I
to
said,
be in the mix there. So we'll see. They'll
they
fight it
might
out
be
for the
they
number
might
one.
be kicking themselves for not keeping Osweiler, but by the same token, I still can't imagine a team giving Osweiler
And this-
$18 million
And this is
a year.
Oh, sure. Oh, no.
Honest to gosh.
This also leaves the Jets in a quandary because they were looking at Colin Kaepernick to come over to them. So are they going to re-sign Ryan Fitzpatrick? Because I think that would have been a better choice for Denver myself.
Well, I think you're right. Although, like I said, Fitzpatrick, I think he put his toe in the free agent waters and found out he's good, but he's not worth what
Nobody's
he.
jumping on that.
No, nobody's
on that
jumping
price
on the
tag.
big bucks. So we keep that in mind. But no, that's a good point. So he may just stay put where he is. But like I said, we're a long way from football season. But I scratch my head and wonder how Houston pays a quarterback that started 10 games in his career, $18 million.
Well, no.
My mind is blown. I can't figure that out.
Well, one thing you mentioned, we got so much going on here in April. Of course, we've talked about it. The college basketball championships,
Yeah.
the Masters golf next week. We got starting today, the Major League Baseball season. NBA playoffs are going to start this month, and the NFL draft is April 28th. So that's a lot for 1 month to be handling. I
Great
think
time.
That's exciting.
A great time to be in live and a great time to be in shots from the bench. So I'll tell you what, I know we've just about wrapped up our fourth quarter here, and I want to thank everybody for listening to us. So for Bob Murphy, Greg Malinzuk, I'm Bob Wiltman saying thanks so much, everybody, for Shots from the Bench. We'll see you next week here at Margarita Republic on Sunday at 2 o'clock. Thank you. You're right. That's an awful lot of stuff going on, man.
You can't pick.
draft
You
is
really
coming
can't
up.
pick another month
draft.
like it.
The draft gets so much coverage. So
Other
much.
than April, it's probably not until like October.
What's that? What'd you
Yeah.
say?
Yeah.
We just talked about. I was talking about the Red Wings. 24 years in a row they've made the playoffs, and they're in jeopardy of not making it for the first time in 25 years. That's amazing. But
Yeah, you got hockey.
we'll have a real good feel for that next week. Because they'll be done. They're wrapping it up. We'll know who's playing who. That'll be a good one to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm still on. Time for singing. Singing in the rain. No. Here's one I just wrote.
For his next song,
Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods. Tiger, where are you?
there he is.
That's Jerry Smith.
Will Tiger Woods ever play in another Masters?
Will he ever win another one?
Will he ever play in one?
Well, he probably won't play, but he would.
Senior Masters.
All right. Well, that was fun, and that flew by. We probably went a little long on a couple of them, but I'll count on your editing
had so
talents
much
to get us through.